take a look at the hazards menu. So in the hazards menu are the terrains, the creatures and the mines that players might come across. These are hazards for not just the players but for anything that you spawn in game. I organised it into just one menu. So the first one are hazards like your black hole. So you can create a black hole at the GM position, again by right clicking and just clicking black hole. And by clicking it again, it'll remove that black hole. So that's like a black hole on and off button. Figured you could only have one black hole at a time. I might expand on it and allow more black holes to be created. The tricky bit is how you then remove those black holes, so it would require some extra work. The next one is radiation point. I'm going to spawn that. I'll spawn it next to the TSN Saber actually. This creates a single radiation point. The marker's just a generic mesh with a little tag above it. And then you'll see down here in the left you've got TSN Saber. It's just a generic mesh, but it lists the ship and it lists a number, and you'll see that number increasing. That number will increase up to 100%, so it's a percentage number. It will increase all the way up to 100% based on how close the ships are to the radiation. So if they move far enough away, so you can see the TSN Saber is currently on 20%. If I move the TSN Saber far enough away from that point, then this number is going to start going back down again. So it's currently at 25. If I just leave it for a bit, it'll go back down. When you've got more than one ship on, each ship will have its own individual marker. Again, at the bottom, players can't really interact or fly with these markers. They're set too high up above the plane, but they give a visual indication for the science officer and the captain as well to see that radiation building up. As it hits 100%, that radiation then starts to affect the ship's shield systems. So if you leave it too long, the shields will be completely stripped offline. I also think I coded it to affect the energy levels of that ship. To remove that radiation marker, you go back in terrain and you click the radiation point and it'll get rid of it. The actual radiation marker here itself stays until that's cleared, and then once that final one is cleared, it gets removed. Next, nebulae. You've got single nebula, you've got clusters of nebula, and then I've also added the 3 colours. So for example, I could go for a medium cluster of yellow, so it just sets out this small nebula, and then let's do some blue. Let's do a large blue one. As an example, here we go. So it'll set out a bigger one. It allows you to quickly place down new terrain. Perhaps say this station has been overloading or something, or some things happened around it and they need to investigate. You could quickly drop that down just to highlight it as a point. It's up to you how you use it in your stories. There's also asteroids, so you can create a single asteroid. You can create different fields of asteroids, so I'll set up a medium asteroid field here. Here we go. And it just creates that medium asteroid field. You can then kind of create 2 or 3 and create like a string of asteroids just to go and investigate and check out. The next drop down menu allows you to spawn all the creatures that you can find in Artemis. So the individual creatures, like the shark for example, will just spawn as a single creature and then start moving as normal. The creatures such as the swarms, like the piranha swarm or a pod of whales, actually has several creatures spawn at the same time to create that swarm or that pod, and when they're spawning you'll see a button pop up just as an indicator to say that those creatures are spawning. So if I click piranha swarm, you can see it says spawning piranhas, and it'll create a small swarm of, let me see how many I've put, 5 piranhas there. Same with whales, so if I go to the whales it will say spawning whales and it'll create a pod of whales there. So you can create research opportunities, or you could create threats to stations for your players as well if you don't want any particular combat. The final menu is mines. It allows you to create a single mine in a location. If you want a single mine, you could have those kind of dropping out the back of enemy ships, or you could set them up to protect an area that they've got to go and investigate. You can have a small circular minefield. So I just created them as rings because it was easy enough to do. The medium one is a little bit larger, and then there's the large minefield as well that gives you a field of 3 rings. If you wanted your players, for example, to go into enemy territory that's defended by various minefields, you can just very quickly set them up, or create hazards that they've got to try and navigate around.